There are 5 things you should do when building your PC and 5 things you shouldn't do. My name is Jackson Klein, I'm your host of Money Moves. Let's get into it. First, I'd like to give everybody a huge thank you for tuning into my new channel. Don't forget to subscribe to all my social media, links down below. My first PC building tip is that the case that you buy matters. You got MATX, you got ATX, Micro ATX. What's the difference? So in terms of those, you have sizes. Now, I don't recommend buying a MATX, like a huge one, because they're enormous PCs. You don't need that much. Also, when you buy a case, think about what you want to build. Because if you want to cable manage properly, you need a good case. It has to have the capability to move cables around without breaking them or stretching them out too much. Next is airflow. Airflow matters in a PC because more than likely you have at least one fan. So you got to have air coming in from one port, right out the other, all clean. As simple as this one may sound, the second tip I have is know what you're building a PC for. Are you gaming? Are you streaming? Are you a creative professional using Adobe programs? You want to build a PC that fits your needs. If it can't do that, then you wasted all your money. If you're gaming, you could just do the most basic PC setup. You can have a budget CPU, you can have a semi-decent graphics card. I really wouldn't go budget unless you're trying to get like at max 50 frames, That'd kind of be closer to what you get. Warzone, you probably get 40, which is what people are playing most. Now, if you're a creative professional, doing photography, anything like that, you won't need as much. Now, when I say as much, I mean in terms of creative professionals, photography, you don't need a huge PC. You could actually get away with just a laptop. But, that said, if you are a video editor, you do After Effects, anything like that, you're going to want a good computer. I'm talking quality CPU and quality graphics card, and you're going to want at least 32 gigabytes of RAM, which actually nowadays isn't that expensive compared to what it used to be. Now, if you're streaming, you're going to want everything mentioned. You're going to want to have a beast of a CPU, and you're going to want to have a really good graphics card. Now, to connect to the internet, you can either do hardwired with Ethernet or you can do wireless. But if you do wireless, just make sure you have a good wireless card. That brings me to my next point. Spend the money that you have on better parts instead of the fancy ones that are trash with RGB. Now, me myself, I love RGB. It sounds hypocritical, but I upgrade my PC. But I buy parts that are also RGB that are good. I don't spend money on trash parts that just light up just because. Now, I know everybody wants, a big window, and they want their PC to do, raindrop effects and spirals. But if you don't have the budget to get good parts, please don't spend money on just for RGB. It may look cool, but seriously, I built my computer 6 years ago, and after building it for so long and upgrading, I don't even look at it anymore. I just kind of turn it on. I'm like, it's cool, My fourth tip is your CPU cooler. I hate this one. I'm sorry, but if you're still using the stock AMD CPU cooler or Intel, you have to upgrade. CPUs have what's called the TGA max, and that is the temperature that it will go up to. Once it hits that temperature, your computer will shut off for safety reasons. If you're close to hitting that TGA max with your current CPU cooler, get a different one. Now you got air cooling and you got water cooling. Water cooling actually is not as good as it used to be, because air cooling now has gotten a lot better. Before, when I built my PC, water cooling was #1 in the game for building a PC. But now, air cooling is a lot easier to set up and kind of works a little bit better. I mean, both of them are around the same area, but air cooling is easier to set up. The only issue you're going to have with air cooling is that you have to clean your computer pretty often because it builds a lot of dust. Just make sure with the thermal heatsink you have on there to clean it every now and then. Talking 1 month to every 3 months. Water cooling, on the other hand, you have to either buy one that's modular so you can change the fluids out, or you just buy one cooler and that's it. That cooler, like what I have is a Cooler Master, only will last you about 3 years because you can't change the fluids out of it. So after those 3 years, you're out of luck. You gotta get a new one. Coming into tip number 5, buy a modular power supply. Don't buy a regular one, because you got regular, modular, and then like semi-modular. Semi-modular is fine. I really recommend modular just because it's so much easier, because with the regular power supply or even semi you will use the cables that are attached already, but with regular, you're not going to use half of those. Like, because most of them are Molex cables, which get in the way. But if you also have a modular, you have room for upgrading. So if you want to put LED strips in there, if you want to put like a Corsair lighting node, plug in a new cable and you're good to go. Those have been my 5 or 6 tips on building a PC, what I recommend and I do not recommend. As always, follow me on my social medias down in the description. I stream on Twitch every Saturday and Sunday. I'll see you guys next time.